Hello, everyone, and welcome to our virtual church history tour here on High Five Live. We are at our next incredible site here, and what is awesome today is that we have one of the greatest storytellers in the church with us. Storyteller, historian, Glenn Rawson is joining us, and so excited to learn from him today as we're at this special place. Glenn, hi, and where are you coming from?
I'm at my home in Syracuse, Utah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us virtually. It's crazy, but Glenn and I were both talking. We were supposed to be here with large groups of people this summer, but
Yep. Yeah,
plans have changed for all of us, haven't they? And so
they certainly have. Yeah.
we're just kind of doing the best that we can with the technology we have. And so thanks for joining us and being here with us. We really appreciate you working with us today, Glenn. So thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Um, So I am here at the priesthood restoration site of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I'm standing in front of the Joseph and Emma home. And just an incredible spot. And I'm going to kind of show people around, and I'm going to turn the time over to Glenn, because I know that our audience is super excited to learn from you. And
Thank
while
you.
he's talking, I'll kind of show you around. So go ahead, Glenn.
Okay. It's a pleasure to be with you today. You probably notice on camera my sunburnt nose because 2 days ago I was in the top of the Tetons. So I come to you with a sunburned nose from the top of the Tetons, a shirt from Alaska, and virtually showing you the scenes of the Joseph and Emma home in Harmony, Pennsylvania, and broadcasting out to who knows how many locations all around the world. I have only a few minutes, so let me just talk about what you're seeing on that camera in Harmony, Pennsylvania. That home is a recreation of the original home that was built by Joseph, and actually that was lived in by Joseph and Emma. Now, let me, for just a moment, may I talk about Emma? That home that you see behind you was part of the property where that Isaac Hale. I don't know if we lost the signal or not. If we're still there, can you still hear me? Oh, I'm going to keep talking until we come back up. It would have been right around the turn of the 18th century, 19th century, that Isaac Hale would have come down from Vermont, not married, and would have heard of this land and as being opened up and newly surveyed, and people could move in and homestead. Isaac Hale came down and laid claim to a large amount of property, bought a cabin that was there, and then went back to Vermont. Are we back okay?
Yeah, we're back. Sorry about that, everybody. Glenn, just to let you know, one of the things we've mentioned 4 or 5 times now is that on any church history tour, things don't always work out the way you plan, right? And so we've encouraged
Amen.
our audience to be flexible and friendly. And so thanks for joining us, and sorry for that technical difficulty. Hopefully we'll be able to stay live here.
Okay. All right. What I just said is that Isaac Hale, right around the turn of the 19th century, came down and bought that farm where that home sits, and then went back up to Connecticut and married his sweetheart, Elizabeth Lewis. They came down here and started a family. On the 10th of July, 1804, a little girl was born to Isaac and Elizabeth Hale. She was the third girl and the 7th child in the family. And there are things in the record that indicate that Emma was a favorite with her father. Emma's next youngest sister was Trial Hale. And Trial was blonde haired, blue eyed, and a very beautiful girl. Emma is described in the records as being various descriptions, but I'll give you this. Emma Hale was described as being tall, somewhere between 5'8" and 5'10" tall, with dark hair, olive dark complexion, and dark eyes. When Joseph would have first met Emma Hale, who, by the way, everyone else in the family, it's clear that they were named for other members of the family, except Emma. There is no one in the family by that name. Where her parents got the name Emma, we do not know. And among her family and her friends, she went by various nicknames. M, or Emmy, but it seems that when she married Joseph, she preferred to be called simply Emma. Now, in 1825, Joseph Smith Sr. and Joseph Smith Jr. come down. We've lost it again. I don't know if your viewers can actually hear me or if we're streaming through that location in Harmony. I'll wait and see. Okay.
Hi, Glenn. Are you
Yeah,
still there?
I'm still here, but
I
my question is,
apologize.
when I lose you, does the audience lose me as well? I mean, everything's going through you, isn't it?
Uh, I don't know.
I don't
That's
know
a
either.
great question. It
Otherwise,
looks like we still have 90 people here. So
all right. Well, I'll continue where I left off then, if that's okay. Okay, Kori just told me that you can still hear me, so even if you can't see me. In 1825, rumors had been rampant in the area where Joseph and Emma lived that there was lost Spanish silver in that area. And the reason for that is that there were a number of Indian burial grounds found in the area. Grave robbers had raided those graves and dug up silver ornaments. And so, whether from French or Spanish or whatever, the rumors fled that there was a Spanish silver mine somewhere in that area. Well, Joseph was hired along with his father to go down and look for buried Spanish treasure, rumored to be in those mountains around Harmony. And of course, they were put to board with Isaac Hale's family, which, by the way, would later sour with Isaac Hale because he didn't have much respect, being a self-made man, somewhat prosperous. He didn't have much respect for those who sought a living by digging for lost treasure. He had no respect for that. Well, during the time they were there, as you probably know, Joseph and Emma were attracted to one another. Now, why would they have been attracted to one another? Emma was a few months older than Joseph. But as I described, she was tall, articulate, well educated. She could write. Evidently, she was cultured and refined. She could sing. She understood music. She wrote hymns, etc. So Emma was quite a good-looking woman. In fact, as a matter of fact, Joseph's cousin, George A. Smith, would later describe Emma as, quote, the most beautiful woman in the universe. Moreover, Joseph's neighbors up in the Manchester area, when Joseph took her home, described Emma as a very, very beautiful woman. Well, we don't know anything about the details of the courtship between Joseph and Emma, other than the fact of what was customary for the time. I mean, today when kids court, they do it with cell phones, or maybe they still go to movies or out to dinner. I kind of doubt it. I don't know how people fall in love these days when they get to know each other through a little 1 by 2 inch screen. But at any rate, in those days, when you courted, you went to dances, corn huskings, barn raisings, and personal interaction wasn't by a cell phone. You wrote letters to one another. And when you were apart, you wrote poems. Hence, it's not hard to see when Emma would later say that Joseph could neither write a well-worded sentence, etc. She probably knew that from experience. Suffice it to say, Joseph went his way, but the love and the courtship remained between them. Finally, Joseph went to Emma's father and asked for permission to marry her. And Isaac Hale's answer was, "You are a stranger, and you pursue a business that I want no part of." That's a paraphrase. Number one, Joseph was a stranger. All of Emma's siblings married people, spouses from the local community. Joseph wasn't from the local community. Moreover, he pursued a business that Isaac Hale didn't like, whether that was angels and gold plates or whether that was treasure digging. It really makes no difference what it was. Isaac Hale didn't like it. And the answer was no, you can't marry my daughter. Well, as time went on, we now come forward to are you there? Not sure if you're still there or not. We now come forward to a time when Joseph is living in, this would have been at 1827 now. This would have been about December of 1826, January 1827. Joseph is living with the Knight family near Colesville. And we don't know the details, but evidently Emma went up to Colesville or in that area to visit a sister. And of course, she stopped in to see Joseph. It's later recorded in the records that the Knight family used every argument they could to persuade Emma that she should marry Joseph. And Emma makes the comment, preferring him to any other man that I'd met, I married him. I've always been amused by that statement by Emma that, well, if he's the best I can get, I'll go ahead and marry him. But it makes Joseph sound like he's weak old cheese or something, but it's the best she's going to get. But I don't think that's how she meant it at all, because you have to understand, and this is one of the principal points I wanted to make in this short little presentation. When Emma married Joseph, and I'm paraphrasing scholar Mark Staker when I say this, Emma made the first real, serious sacrifice of anyone in this dispensation. You see, the Hale family were prosperous, and they were very close-knit, and they were a large family. And the community there around Harmony, everyone knew each other. It was a very close-knit community. And Joseph comes in from the outside as a stranger. Now, we haven't said much about it, but do you think Emma married Joseph in January of 1827, not knowing about angels, not knowing about the gold plates, not knowing about the visit of the Father and the Son? No, that would be preposterous. She knew everything. And when Joseph proposed marriage, Emma, with eyes wide open, would have understood that by accepting his proposal of marriage, she would be giving up that beautiful home, which the home that you've been looking at there, the Isaac and Emma Hale, or Isaac and Elizabeth Hale home, Lucy Mack Smith called that home a mansion. And it was a beautiful, palatial home for the day. Maybe not as big as some of yours around in your community, but certainly a very palatial home for the time. She would be giving up that home and that family. She would be giving up the prosperity, the culture, and the opportunities, as well as the friends and she would be giving it all up to marry an impoverished farm boy with scarcely the means to support her. Moreover, all of the persecution that would come on Joseph would be hers as well. She would be picking all of that up, and it would become her burden as well. Nevertheless, in the end of January 1827, Emma married Joseph, making the first real sacrifice of everything and all things for the sake of the restored gospel. Immediately, they went up to Squire Zachariah Tarbell's home and were married, and then immediately they returned to Manchester. Now, time passes. Joseph is not able to do any work of translation from September of 1827 moving forward until finally he writes. Now, this is late 1827. Emma writes home and asks her family now this is not like August of 1827, if her dowry is still hers, if her property is still hers, if her milk cow is still hers. And her father says, of course it is. They go down in August to retrieve that property, and then a deal is struck, an agreement, an arrangement is made that Isaac and Elizabeth Hale invite Joseph and Emma to come down and live with them. And the idea is this little piece that you're looking at, this little piece of 13.5 acres of ground, Isaac Hale would sell it to Joseph. Now you have to understand, this is not rotten real estate on Isaac's rather spacious farm. This is some of the best ground on the whole of Isaac Hale's property. There's a sugar orchard and prime property and a cabin already built there. And of course, Joseph and Emma agree to the arrangement. And so they arrive at Isaac Hale's home somewhere in December of 1827. Now, keep in mind that Isaac Hale is still smarting over the loss of his daughter. He still resents Joseph for it. He resents Joseph for what he is. He resents Joseph for what he does, meaning all of this business about angels and gold plates. In fact, upon their first meeting after being married, Isaac Hale, according to Peter Ingersoll, comes out to meet Joseph and Joseph and Emma as they arrive on the farm. And with tears streaming down his cheeks, Isaac Hale says to Joseph, "You have stolen my daughter, taken her away, and married her." Well, that's not true. Emma was certainly of age and could make up her mind for herself, and he didn't steal her. She went by her consent. Moreover, he said to Joseph, "I would rather have seen her go to the grave than marry you." What a greeting. Welcome home, son. Glad to see you. That's a rocky start. Moreover, when they finally do move down to the farm, Joseph is carrying the gold plates. They are concealed. And Isaac Hale demands to see the plates. And when Joseph says, "I can't show them to you," Isaac Hale says, "Then if I can't see those plates, you can't live in my home." Evidently, a deal was struck. Joseph had the plates concealed in a box that was used to carry glass. Isaac Hale is allowed to heft that box. But still, to his dying day, Isaac Hale does not trust Joseph. In fact, on his deathbed, he gathers his family around him and conveys to them his great fear that they will trust Joseph and run off and join the Mormons. His dying wish is, don't trust Joseph. Well, from December of 1827 up until July of the 1st of June, 1829, Joseph and Emma lived there, and the work of the translation goes forward in that tiny little home that you are seeing. The priesthoods are restored, the Aaronic and the Melchizedek, probably between about the 15th of May and the 1st of June, 1829. It's while they're living right there that the priesthoods are restored, that the great work of the translation of the lost manuscript is there. It's there that Oliver Cowdery comes along with Samuel, and they translate from Mosiah 1 all the way up into 3rd Nephi. They leave in June of 1829 and go up to the Whitmer farm. Emma stays there on the property for a period of time. But finally, and this is my concluding point, and this because, well, you'll see in just a moment, in September of 1830, Emma rejoins her husband up in Manchester, Palmyra, Fayette. In September of 1830, Emma Hale Smith leaves that valley and never returns to the fold of the family and of the community and all of the friends that she had known. After all the hardships she's already endured, so many have left Joseph and the church for so much less. But Emma stayed. She went with Joseph. There were members of the family that Emma never saw again. I know what happened to Emma in Nauvoo in later years. I would be the last one who would ever condemn Emma for stumbling for a time. I've made my own series of mistakes. I laud and applaud Sister Emma all the way through. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. With all that Joseph was called upon and foreordained to do, Emma was foreordained to stand beside him right up to the bitter end. And she fulfilled that mission. And I believe, though I cannot prove it, that when we get beyond the veil and see Joseph, Emma will be right there with him. Thank you for the opportunity to share a few thoughts with you. There's so much more that we could talk about, but we don't have the time. Suffice it to say, Joseph Smith is a prophet. Thank you.